There is a version of you, stronger, wiser, more aligned, who is calling out to you right now. Not from a fantasy, not from a distant dream, but from the path you are meant to walk. Your future self already exists in potential. It is shaped by every choice you make, every fear you confront, and every truth you dare to acknowledge. The question is not whether your future self is real. Future self speaks through intuition, the subtle tug you feel when you know you're meant for more. It speaks through discomfort, urging you to leave what is familiar but no longer alive. It speaks through the moments when your current reality feels too small for your inner world. These are not coincidences, they are signals, and when you ignore these signals, life becomes heavy, repetitive, and directionless. But when you listen, something extraordinary happens. Your life begins to rearrange itself around your potential. Your future self is not asking you to become someone else, it is asking you to remember who you were before fear convinced you to shrink. It is asking you to stop treating survival like your destiny. It is asking you to trust the inner voice that whispers truth even when the world screams doubt. Growth does not come from certainty, it comes from stepping into the unknown with faith in your inner compass. There is a path you must walk alone, a path where your excuses cannot follow, a path where your wounds can no longer dictate your story, a path where your strength is born not from perfection but from honesty. When you take that first step, the universe responds. New opportunities appear, new people enter, old limitations fade. The moment you align with your future self, the world aligns with you. Your future self is not waiting at the finish line, they are walking toward you. Every day they take one step closer, and every day your choices either bring you closer to them or pull you further away. Not the fearful version, not the tired version, not the wounded version, the wiser one who already survived everything you're afraid of. You don't need to see the entire path, you just need to answer the call, because your future self is reaching out, and they believe in you more than you believe in yourself. Your future self already exists in potential, waiting like an unopened doorway inside you, shaped by every decision you haven't yet made and every courage you haven't yet stepped into. This future version of you is not a fantasy or a distant dream. It is the natural unfolding of who you could become if you stopped resisting your own growth. Every strength you admire, every wisdom you seek, every confidence you wish you had, they are already seeded within you, quietly expanding, waiting for the conditions of your life and your choices to allow them to take form. You are not chasing a stranger. You are growing into a version of yourself that has been calling you forward for years. This potential self is created from your deepest values, not your fears. It is crafted from your resilience, not your wounds. It is shaped by the moments when you rise instead of retreat, when you listen to your intuition instead of your excuses, when you choose alignment over approval. Even when you doubt yourself, this future version of you does not vanish. It waits. It watches. It whispers through the discomfort you feel in situations that no longer match your growth. It nudges you through the dreams you keep returning to, the desires that don't leave you alone, the inner knowing that you're meant for more than the life you're settling for. These are not random feelings, they are messages from the person you could be. To step into this potential, you must first understand that your future self is not created in a single breakthrough. It is shaped through hundreds of small choices. The choice to speak the truth even when your voice trembles. The choice to take responsibility instead of blaming the world. The choice to leave what drains you even when it hurts. The choice to trust the process, even when you cannot see the outcome. Every time you make a decision that honors your growth instead of your fear, you shorten the distance between who you are and who you're capable of becoming. Your potential self is already alive in your imagination, waiting to be manifested through action. It is built every time you refuse to shrink. It expands every time you walk toward the unknown. And it strengthens every time you choose self-respect over comfort. You do not become your future self, you reveal them. You peel away the layers of doubt, hesitation, and conditioning until the person you were always meant to be finally steps forward. Intuition, discomfort, and inner restlessness are signals, quiet messengers from the deepest part of your psyche trying to guide you toward the life that aligns with who you truly are. These signals are not random sensations or emotional noise. They are the language of your inner world, speaking in ways your rational mind cannot always understand. Intuition often arrives as a subtle whisper, a feeling that something is right even before you have evidence. Discomfort arrives as tension, unease, or emotional resistance, especially when you are staying in places that no longer support your growth. Inner restlessness appears when your soul is ready for a new chapter, even while your circumstances are still clinging to the old one. Together, these signals form a compass, one that points you toward transformation long before your outer life begins to change. Your intuition is the first sign that your future self is trying to guide you. It nudges you toward opportunities, people, and decisions that resonate with your truth, even when they don't make logical sense. You feel it as a spark of clarity, a subtle knowing, or an inner pull that refuses to be ignored. But intuition alone is not always comfortable. Often, it leads you straight into the territory where growth is required, not where comfort is guaranteed. That is where discomfort steps in. Discomfort is the signal that you are outgrowing your current reality. It is not punishment, it is pressure. It is life pushing you to move, stretch, and shed what no longer fits. When you remain in situations that drain you or limit you, discomfort intensifies. It becomes emotional heaviness, mental conflict, or physical tension. The very pain you try to avoid becomes the catalyst that forces you to evolve. Discomfort shows you what your intuition has been trying to tell you all along. You are meant for a different level of existence. And then there is inner restlessness, the feeling that your life is standing still even when you seem to be doing everything right. This restlessness is not a flaw or a sign of impatience. It is your potential pressing against the walls of your current life, insisting that you expand. It is the voice of your unexpressed possibilities reminding you that staying where you are is no longer sustainable. When intuition whispers, discomfort tightens and restlessness rises. Your inner world is guiding you towards change. These signals are the bridge between who you are and who you are becoming, urging you to listen, move, and trust the path unfolding within you. Your future self wants alignment, not reinvention, because the strongest version of you is not someone entirely different. It is the most honest expression of who you already are beneath fear, conditioning, and self-doubt. Reinvention implies that you must discard everything you have been, but alignment invites you to return to what has always been true within you. Deep down, you already carry the seeds of your potential, the gifts, instincts, desires, and strengths that have followed you quietly throughout your life. Your future self isn't asking you to erase your past or build a new identity from scratch. It is asking you to finally stop betraying your own truth. Alignment happens when your inner values match your outer actions, when what you feel, what you believe, and what you choose all move in the same direction. Most people suffer not because they lack potential, but because they constantly live out of tune with themselves. They stay in environments that numb them, relationships that shrink them, habits that drain them, and dreams they refuse to pursue. This misalignment creates emotional friction, mental confusion, and spiritual exhaustion. Your future self wants you to end this internal tug-of-war and live in a way that feels natural rather than forced. When you step into alignment, life feels less like a struggle and more like a flow. You stop chasing approval because your decisions come from inner clarity, not fear. You stop pretending to be someone else because you finally trust the truth of who you are. You no longer exhaust yourself trying to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. Instead, you gravitate toward people and opportunities that resonate with your authentic path. Alignment is a process of remembering what sets your soul on fire, what feels meaningful, what feels like home. Reinvention might look dramatic on the surface, but alignment is transformative from the inside. It is quieter, deeper, and more sustainable. It asks you to choose what feels right over what looks impressive, to honor your inner voice over external expectations, and to build a life anchored in authenticity rather than performance. Your future self does not want you to become a stranger. It wants you to finally recognize yourself. The person you are becoming is not a new creation, but a clearer, freer, more powerful expression of the person you were always meant to be. Growth requires stepping into the unknown because everything you desire, confidence, purpose, strength, evolution, exists beyond the limits of what is familiar. The life you want cannot be built from the comfort zone because the comfort zone is designed for preservation, not transformation. The unknown is where you meet the parts of yourself you've never accessed, the abilities you've never tested, and the wisdom you've never needed before. It is the territory where fear and possibility coexist, inviting you to choose expansion over safety. Every meaningful shift in your life begins the moment you take a step without knowing exactly where it will lead, trusting that the path will reveal itself only after you begin walking it. Stepping into the unknown is not about recklessness. It is about courage. It is the willingness to move even when you don't have every answer, to try even when you're uncertain, to leap even when the ground is not clearly visible. Fear tells you that unfamiliar territory is dangerous, but in truth, it is only unfamiliar because you have not yet grown into it. The unknown is not empty. It is full of the experiences, relationships, opportunities, and breakthroughs that your current life cannot yet hold. To reach them, you must be willing to loosen your grip on what feels predictable. The most profound growth occurs in the moments when you choose faith over familiarity, when you leave behind the job that suffocates your spirit, even though you don't yet know what comes next, when you set boundaries that disrupt old patterns, even if you fear losing people, when you chase a dream that feels too big for you, trusting that you will rise to meet its demands. These choices may feel unsettling, but they are the exact moments where your future self is born. The discomfort you feel is simply the stretching of your old identity making room for a stronger one. The unknown is where stagnation ends and possibility begins. It forces you to awaken your creativity, resilience, and intuition, qualities that remain dormant when life is predictable. You discover capacities you didn't know you had because the unfamiliar requires you to grow into them. You learn to trust yourself because you have no choice but to rely on your inner compass, and slowly the unknown becomes the place where you realize how capable you truly are. Growth demands that you leave the shore, not to be reckless, but to discover how far you can actually go. Every choice either brings you closer to or further from your future self, because your life is constantly being shaped by the small decisions you make long before you ever see their outcomes. People often believe that transformation comes from one defining moment, but in truth, it is built through hundreds of ordinary choices. Choices that either align you with the person you want to become or pull you deeper into the patterns you're trying to escape. Each decision carries a direction, each moment invites a response, and every response quietly molds the trajectory of your life. You are never standing still. You are always moving towards something or away from something, even when you don't realize it. When you choose avoidance over honesty, you drift further from the confidence of your future self. When you choose comfort over courage, you delay the growth that your future self depends on. When you choose to stay in environments that shrink you, you reinforce the version of you that believes settling is the only option. But the opposite is also true. When you make even a small decision that honors your potential, speaking up, setting a boundary, pursuing a dream, saying no to what drains you, you take a step toward the version of you that is waiting to be lived. These choices don't have to be dramatic. Sometimes it's as subtle as choosing self-respect over people-pleasing, discipline over distraction, healing over denial, or progress over perfectionism. These small acts may seem insignificant in the moment, but they accumulate. They stack. They shape your identity. Over time, you begin to feel the shift inside you. You start recognizing your own patterns and correcting them. You start realizing that you have more control than you ever believed. You become aware that your life is not happening to you. It is responding to you. Your future self is built through the choices you make when no one is watching. The quiet decisions, the private promises, the moments when you refuse to betray yourself even when it would be easier to do so. Each choice that aligns with your truth strengthens your path forward, narrowing the distance between who you are and who you want to be. Eventually, the gap becomes so small that your future self feels less like a dream and more like a natural extension of your daily actions. You don't become that version by accident. You become them through consistent choices that honor your evolution. You only need the next step, not the full map, because the path toward your future self is not revealed all at once. Life unfolds in fragments, in moments, in small decisions that gradually shape the journey ahead. When you demand to see the entire map before moving, you trap yourself in paralysis. You wait for certainty that will never arrive, clarity that can only come from experience, and confidence that is built only through action. The truth is, the next step is always revealed before the destination. You grow into the path by walking it, not by thinking about it endlessly from a distance. The mind craves control, wanting guarantees and predictable outcomes. But the deeper wisdom within you knows that certainty is an illusion. If you were shown the full map from the start, you would either be overwhelmed by its magnitude, or you would try to skip the very steps meant to strengthen you. The next step is enough because it is all you can genuinely act upon right now. When you take that step, the landscape shifts. New doors appear. New insights emerge. New versions of you rise that are capable of seeing things you couldn't understand before. The path is not hiding from you. It is waiting for you to move so it can reveal itself in the right order. Focusing on the full map often leads to fear. You project worst-case scenarios into the unknown, imagining obstacles that don't exist yet. You convince yourself you're not ready because you haven't mastered everything, but readiness is not something you achieve beforehand, it is something you grow into by taking one step at a time. When you focus only on the next step, the burden becomes lighter, the journey feels possible, progress feels real. You stop overwhelming yourself with the entire staircase and simply lift your foot to the first stair. The power of the next step is that it builds momentum. One action leads to another. One small win creates confidence for the next one. And slowly, without realizing it, you create a path that once felt impossible to imagine. You don't need full understanding, just willingness. You don't need perfect clarity, just direction. You don't need to know how everything will work out, just enough courage to do what is right in front of you. The next step is the bridge between where you are and where you're headed. And once you take it, the path ahead begins to light itself. And one day, without even noticing the exact moment it happened, you will look back and realize that every whisper of intuition, every moment of discomfort, every restless night, and every tiny courageous choice brought you here, to a life that finally feels like yours. You will see that you were never lost. You were being guided. You were never behind. You were being prepared. Your future self was never far away. They were walking toward you with every step you took. So take the step that is in front of you. Trust the pull you feel. Honor the truth inside you. You don't need to know the whole story. You just need to keep moving toward the person you were always meant to become. Because your future self is not a dream waiting in the distance. They are the voice inside you saying, "I'm here. Keep going. You're closer than you think."